Hey guys, it's Kwana back again with another review. Thank you for coming back to my channel. I apologize. It has been so long since I have dropped a review between COVID and life and everything. It has just been crazy. Plus, I moved, and so no excuses. But I am ready to get back on my grind with at least 1 week drops, and I'm trying to flood you guys with a bunch of content, especially surrounding Lovecraft Country, which has been like my absolute favorite show of 2020. Because I think Watchmen was last year, so we're gonna count this as my new favorite show of 2020. And I just got finished watching episode 5, Strange Case, and it is definitely one of my favorite shows episodes so far. A lot happened tonight. I'm still decompressing and analyzing it. So let's just go in with the review. So first and foremost, again, just thank you to all my OG peoples. Um, and thank you for all of you who are finding me for the first time. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like I said, every week after the show, I will be dropping a review and my quick commentary about the show. I am going to also go back and review and drop my reviews for episodes 1 through 4. I just have been struggling getting back into the flow of things, and I was like, you just got to do it. You just got to rip the band aid and just do it. So that's a word for all my peeps out there who've been struggling to do certain things with this COVID going on and figuring out your new normal. Whether you're at home, whether you're now teaching your kids, whatever the case may be, you just got to rip the band aid off and just get back into your grind. So every Sunday night, I will be dropping a Lovecraft Country, and probably at least, I will at least do 2 episodes this coming up week where I will combine episodes 1 and 2 and episodes 3 and 4 for a double feature, just so that I can go back and hit everything. Because if you are new to Lovecraft Country, I don't know why you would be looking at this video and you're new to it, but maybe you're new to my channel. But aside from just reviewing, I like to analyze and dissect shows. And this show is really creating a mythology and building a world and building upon worlds created by not just H.P. Lovecraft, but also just the genres of science fiction, horror, adventure, really all of the pulp genres that Black people and minorities have kind of been left out of in the mainstream. It is building a mythology around that, and so it's taking the novel by Matt Ruff, but it is expanding upon it in many ways. And from what I understand, because I've read bits and pieces of it, but I've not read the whole thing. Um, Most of it, a lot of the things that are in the book are in the show, but it looks as though they are building some things to where this will probably cover most of that book, and then it will depart from that. And I think that this is a show that I don't think this will just get a 1 season run. I don't think this is something like with Watchmen where, the creator knew he just wanted to do 1 season and just do it and then split. I think we're going to see these characters for a while, at least fingers crossed. Another thing that's going to be coming, so I want you guys to look out for it. I'm going to go ahead and just say it now because if I speak it into existence, it will come to pass. Is I'm going to do like a weekly wrap up of all the entertainment news. There has been a lot going on, and with COVID, a lot of things are getting pulled, they're getting shifted, a lot of things are getting changed, and then we've just been hit with a lot. I'm sure, like many of you, I was like completely floored and devastated by the loss of Chadwick Boseman. I really want to do a video later with my thoughts about that, but I'm one of those people that when something like that happens, I can't do a video in the moment on something like that because I'm too raw. My emotions are just out there, and it would just not be good for you or her or me or anybody. My children will be looking at me like I'm crazy, like, Mommy, what's wrong with you? So that'll be coming to the channel soon. But anyway, let's just get into this Lovecraft Country. So hopefully you watched episode 4. Episode 4, I'm not going to completely recap, but the last few minutes of the show, we get Atticus, Letty, Montrose arrive back in Chicago with Yahima. And she is a Arawak woman who was imprisoned on a ship, and they rescue her, and she kind of like reanimates, and they rescue her. Um, a spell is placed on her where she is turned into a siren, so she can only kind of squawk. She can't speak anymore, and they need her to be able to speak so that they can actually decipher the language of Adam. Well, Montrose, in the last few moments of the episode, kills her and slits her throat. And there was just a lot of talk online about the potential harm in having that scene, because here you have this woman who she is not. First of all, a lot of people online were calling her transgender, and I don't know if the actress who played her is transgender or not, but she is in the show representing a two-spirit Native American, and that is something that is very real in the Native American country. I mean, country, Lord, I can't speak today. Culture, and she's not transgender in the way that we know of a transgender person, because a transgender person, if I'm using the terminology correctly, feels as though their anatomy does not match up with their psychology, if that makes sense. This person embodies both. And Atticus, from what we understand, slits her throat because he's trying to protect his son. Atticus. Y'all, it is late. It is almost 12 o'clock. I stayed up too late watching Patty and Gladys. Um, Montrose slits her throat and it's to protect Atticus from actually like uncovering the language of Adam. At least that's what we're led to believe. Um, Another thing that happens at the end of the episode is Ruby hooks up with William and they get it on. Now, I don't know why the big demonic symbol on his chest did not raise any red flags for her, but I would have been like, that's a very unusual tattoo that you have there. And yeah, I don't want no parts of that, so I'm going to bounce right now. But she doesn't. And so a lot of people have been noticing some very interesting things. For one, the fact that he had that engraved on him was pretty significant. You know, we are led to believe that he was just kind of like a friend of Christina's or possibly a servant. And that is either a brand showing that he belongs to the devil, maybe, or something. It don't look good. So we get to this episode called Strange Case, and we get there. There is a white woman in the bed. It looks like a very plush room. It looks like we should be getting Ruby and William, but we have this white woman, and we find out that it's Ruby. Ruby has been transformed into a white woman. And I'm going to kind of recap by telling you Ruby's story and then going into the other characters. She wakes up as this white woman. She goes to the south side of Chicago. All these black people are looking at her like, what is this white woman doing on the south side? She runs into this little black boy, and who runs up a 5-0 and is very, a la, there's been a lot of like nods to Emmett Till and just those kind of similar situations. They've immersed this black boy. They're like, what did you do to her? Did you molest her? What did you do? She finally is like, no, the little black boy didn't do anything. And they take her back to William. And we find out that William has given her some potion, which has allowed her to transform into this white woman. And so he's like, you can do with it what you will. And so where does she go? She goes to Marshall Fields, the store that she wanted to apply for a job, and she gets hired as a manager with the same credentials that she would have walked in there with them before. But because she's a white woman, she gets elevated immediately to manager. She's not just a floor girl. She meets first of all, the scene where she's transforming, just the sounds of like her bones snapping and breaking and like her flesh tearing. Oh, that made my skin crawl. And as it was happening, there was this news broadcast, and it said Kenyan locusts are shedding their skins and they're heading to Britain. And then it says in 7 days, they become adults or something like that. And I don't know that there was anything significant. I'll have to go back and watch that again, because I know 7 is the number of completion. Um, there's a lot of things with 7. I don't know if that was like the seventh plague. I kind of feel like maybe that was like the seventh plague, where the locust, but I'm not sure where the locust fell in like the Christian or Judeo-Christian story of like Moses and Egypt and that kind of thing. I thought that there was something significant with that part that just stuck to me because the voiceover got louder and louder and louder. Anyway, she goes and finds out that the black woman Tamara who got the job before her is actually woefully underqualified. I didn't know what they were trying to really suggest with that about her being the first black woman because traditionally it's like you have to be overqualified in order to even get the most basic position. And here she was underqualified. I don't know if it's a pretty privilege, obviously could play a part. They're both dark skinned women, but certainly um, the Tamara girl fits into the more conventional standards of beauty in terms of like slender and thin. Anyway, so Ruby starts taking advantage and living her best life and enjoying getting things for free because she has this white skin. And she said something so profound. She said, um, I don't know what's harder, being black or being a woman. Um, Most days I'm content or I'm happy to be both, but I something like I never get a chance to live them both uninterrupted. Like she's happy to be black and she's happy to be a woman, and she could be her happiest self if life didn't get in the way, if white people and men did not steal her joy. And I thought that was very profound, especially because here we have this very kind of stereotypical traditional story of this dark skinned woman who wants to be black. It took me back to I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings after Maya Angelou is molested by her mother's boyfriend, and she goes back. She has these visions of waking up and her hair is blonde and she's a white girl. And then in Precious you see kind of the same ideals. So here you actually have this made real, but at a tremendous cost to Ruby. She does, though, use her power for good eventually, and she uses it to take revenge on her boss, who attempts to rape the other black woman in a very hard to watch scene. I'm not one of those people who, because it's a man, and yes, he was an evil man, and that he tried to rape or assault the other black woman, but it was a very hard scene to watch. So basically, she quits her job, comes on to him, pulls his belt off, ties him up, got him bound, and I was like, I kept thinking of that scene in oh my gosh, it's the Atticus movie. I can't think of the name of it, but it's got like Samuel L. Jackson in it, and when they take over Attica or something, and they make the guards go out. And I kept thinking of that scene of like him being walked out naked. And I kept thinking, oh, she's gonna make this man walk out of the store naked. But no, she takes her stiletto and like gets him in the tuchus and lets him feel what that feels like. Um and then transforms into her black self in front of him and lets him know that this has happened to him by a black woman. I don't know that he would really understand. Like I think he probably I think that little spell thing would have to activate and kick in, right? Because how would he? It's like that would make his brain implode. I think. Um, so that happened. Um, and we're gonna get back to that. We're gonna come back to that. So that's just the recap of that. We're gonna come back to the significance of that storyline. Um, we also get Atticus and Letty go to see Montrose, and they see that Yima's gone. Um, Letty says, "You let her go." Montrose clearly knows that more than that has happened, and he starts to beat the brakes off of his daddy. He's like, Atticus is like, "No, I'm not pulling no punches," and he is going in on his daddy. And Letty eventually has to get some guys to come in and pull him off of him before he kills him. Well, Montrose goes to Sammy, who we have all been assuming that there was a sexual relationship between the two of them, and yes, there is. So obviously, Montrose is dealing with his own sexuality and he is struggling with it. So obviously, he is extremely closeted at this point, and he is very angry. And the sex scene that they had, which was like fully clothed, um, was extremely heartbreaking and uncomfortable to watch because it's almost on the verge of like an assault that takes place between the two of them. There's no emotion, there's just sexual organs being in contact, and that is it. And Sammy even tries at one point to kiss Montrose, and Montrose, pushes him away, and then he, proceeds to perform oral sex on him. But it's obviously with a very much of an um, anger toward that side of himself, maybe anger toward the fact that he has to hide it, anger toward the side of him that probably that, his father was abusive for him being soft and being effeminate at times. And so he's taking all of that anger out on Sammy, just like he's also taking all that anger out on his son. Well, eventually we see Sammy has like, tried to clean him up, fix him up, and he is at his hangout with some other with other girls, and there was a cameo by Shangela and Monet Exchange. I was like, wait a second, that looked like Shangela. Okay, Monet Exchange, I see you. Getting your coin or whatever, and they're going to have a drag ball, and he goes, and eventually he finds that he's finally found a place where he could be accepted and where he can kind of let go, and he starts, I guess it's a nod to perhaps he's going to embrace that side of himself. He eventually does kiss Sammy, um, and the other women there and the other men there, they accept him. I don't know where Montrose is going to go with that. I don't know where the storyline is going to go with that, because I do hate that had to come at the expense of Yahima. And Yahima, in terms of the storyline, was a reanimated spirit. So she's not really, she is older than old and not really supposed to be alive anyway. However, I do hate that it came at the expense of Yahima, and I'm hoping that the show will somehow rectify that. Like perhaps we'll see Yahima reanimate, or her ghost even. Like I'm completely okay with her ghost haunting the heck out of Montrose later and getting her revenge, because it's horrible that she had to endure everything that she endured from, the Braithwaites, and now she is had to go through this at the hands of Montrose. I think there is definitely, if I want to just wrap up this storyline, to say that there is something to be said for the way that Black people can also take in and internalize um, white supremacist, colonialized thoughts, misogyny, all of that is, part of patriarchal white supremacy thoughts. And they can embody it to the point where, despite the fact that we're dealing with the fact that the whole storyline is dealing with the fact of what the Braithwaites did to Atticus's bloodline on his mother's side, and him being the fruit of that harm, now we see Montrose internalizing that and doing those same things to Yahima. And he's internalized that pain, that illness in himself that he got from his own father. He's passed it down to his son, and now we're also seeing it in this episode come out in Atticus. And Atticus says in one scene to Letty, "I don't want you to be afraid of me." And he doesn't want to be angry in that way, but he says he never thought he could be, but war brought it out of him. We do get a little bit more between Atticus and Letty. They are a very cute couple, but I want to see a little bit more about them, especially because, it was like at one point in episode one where they grew up, they knew each other, they were best friends, but then it was almost like they didn't know each other at all. And I would love to see some of those roots, like what brings them together, what holds them together. Is it more than just their blackness that holds them together? I would like to believe so. I'd like for them to, at the end of all of this, to kind of like ride off in the sunset, like Danny and Sandy, and, be okay at the end of all of this. But I don't know that there is a okay. Did I mention that we got it confirmed that William and Christina are the same person? I don't know if I mentioned that, but there was this whole, basically, the point of William giving Ruby the potion to turn into a white woman was so that she could place some stone in the the chief of police's office or whatever because he purportedly killed William once upon a time, because he was like the rightful owner of their chapter of the Sons of Adam or whatever. And we basically find out that William and Christina are the same person, that the they've either converged and the potion has allowed her to. I don't really know how that works or if that was just a lie. I'm really confused, but they are one and the same. They are one and the same. And so we are going to find out about that. We did not find out anything more about Hippolyta. I keep saying Hippolyta. I think they call her Hippolyta. I'm gonna say Hippolyta because that's what I grew up saying it as when you think of like the Wonder Woman trilogy or like Greek mythology or when you read Midsummer Night's Dream or any of those books. Grew up saying Hippolyta, but I think they say Hippolyta. We didn't get any of her or Diana's storyline. So they are still out there, and it appears that we will not get them for at least another 2 weeks because next week we're going to get the story of Atticus in Korea with Gia, which I think is the girl who he fell in love with there, or who he was in a close relationship there, who obviously knew something about him and was able to like help him. He does decipher some of the code, and one of the words that he deciphers is the word like die or suffer and die or something like that. But I'm gonna have to watch that over. So going back, the biggest storyline definitely of this episode was the Ruby one. It was very reminiscent of Jordan Peele's Get Out. It was very reminiscent of I want to say maybe an episode of Tales from the Hood. Um, might have done something like a reverse where a white person turns black and it's like to like their harm or their detriment, like they turn black and they're like chased and lynched or something. And I feel like it's a Tales of the Hood episode if I'm not mistaken. Um, which Tales from the Hood, that is I think I might watch that in October. Um, there was a lot to unpack in that storyline because you have the ideal of whiteness and white privilege being explored. You have the idea of the the black spectacle for white people, like white people looking at us as though we are animals, as though we are a zoo. In fact, at one point, the white coworkers want to go down to the south side, and they literally say to Ruby's character when she's the white counterpart, Hillary, it'll be like a safari, and we need a guide. Um, you know, and telling her like she could fit in with the black version of like the American Bandstand or whatever show that they have because she's got rhythm in her hips and things like that. And so it's a play on the idea in Get Out where you had the white characters wanting to put on black skin in order to be better, to be excellent. And this you have her putting on white skin in order to reap the benefits of privilege. But you still have that thirst of the white characters wanting to experience blackness. The boss tells the black girl that he's assaulting, I want to smile. I heard that you girls smell sweet down there or whatever. The foreignness, the exotic nature of blackness, that they want to experience it and take it for themselves by any means necessary, at the same time degrading black people. Um, and honestly, I don't know how I feel. I am glad that at the end of it all, Ruby seems like she wants to put aside like putting on this white character, and she only kind of does it, I'm hoping, this last time in order to take revenge. Um, but it is, and she gets the chance to look into the depravity of the world that is on the other side, and she's like, wait a second, y'all got some stuff going on that this ain't like our stuff. Um, but it was a very uncomfortable scene to watch because it still feels like, even as we're exploring the nuances of privilege, the fact that we are made exotic and that we are, looked at in this way, um, are we happy? Are we still trying to meet the white Eurocentric stereotypes? And it seems like the answer is like, yes, in many ways, we are still trying to appease those stereotypes. Even the way that Ruby views Tamara is through the gaze of, I can't believe that you got this position because I'm better than you. And how did you get it? It's not looking at like, but I'm also better than all of these other white girls, and I could have gotten all of their positions. Because she feels like there can only be one, she has to compete with the other black girl. And so she feels like she has to down the other black girl because that's her competition, not everyone. And so we see that there's still that it's, when we talk about being equal, it's not just that there are 10 spots. So two of them are going to go to a black or a person of color. And so now I've got to compete with 1,000 other brown people to get those two positions instead of, can I just use my skill set, and can my skill set go head to head with any of these 10? And if none of if 8 of these 10 are not as good as me, I should be the one to get the position. It shouldn't be a quota for where we can only have two or we can only have one. So this it's a lot. There was so much going on in this episode. It was one of the best episodes. Um, I think this show shines. A lot of people did not like the last episode. I actually liked the last episode. It took me back to like the Goonies. It took me back to, of course everybody was like Indiana Jones, but it took me back to the Goonies, and I was just like, all those kind of shows very similar to that in the 80s that were just so big. And we never had that I can think of. If y'all know of a black counterpart to the Goonies that I haven't missed, please drop it down below in the comments and let me know. But I loved it. But this show does shine when it's dealing with just straight up horror. And this was giving us very much like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but like to the nth degree. So it was a really solid episode. I love that we got a chance to see Ruby's character shine in this episode. Um, you know, um, and everyone else took a back seat, and it was a really good episode. It was a really strong episode. I'm not sure how I feel about Atticus's, Korean experiences coming before we get caught up with Hippolyta and Diana, but I feel like, or Hippolyta and Diana, but I feel like the reason is because Anjanou Ellis is such a big actress. And I'm sure one, they had to work around her schedule because she is really, really, really in high demand right now. Did y'all see the Clark Sisters movie? Okay, okay, okay. Dr. Maddie Moss Clark, okay. So she's in high demand right now. But I think also, I know that if y'all haven't seen the trailer, guys, obviously her episode deals with time travel, and I think that they have to set up a little bit more of the magical power structure that exists in this world before they can get to her episode. So I'm thinking that that's why we're not there yet. Um, but I am really, really, really dying for that episode. So far, if I had to gauge my favorite episodes or these first 5 episodes in order from um, what I liked about them, I'm gonna still give episode 1 was my favorite because when it established the world, and I just think um, there's nothing scarier than driving while black in this country. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. And so that was very real, and it was a very tangible, visceral fear that I had watching that episode. I'm going to give episode 3 is number 2 because Letitia Lewis is that chick. Okay, Lady with the Bat. Y'all gonna see me talk about it when I go my recap. Then this episode, so episode 5. So it's 1, 3, 5, 4, 2. 2 is definitely the weakest. No offense, President Fitz, but I just didn't like your character. So that is all for tonight, guys. I hope this was a long recap. I had a lot to say. I hope you enjoyed this recap and review of Lovecraft Country, episode 5, Strange Case. If you did like it and enjoy it, please do me a favor and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up and like, and please comment down below if I missed anything, little hints you found, things of that nature, anything at all. Drop them down below in the comments, and I will make sure to bring it up next time. And until then, toodles.